Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's a bit of a bittersweet day here as we get started with round 13 of the Division 1 Championship as we have found out about the passing of Sir Frank Williams, the founder and former team principal of Williams Racing. So before we get too far into the stream here today, we will be observing a bit of a moment of silence here to pay respects to to Sir Frank Williams with the passing that has had today. So we will observe that and be back with you in just a few moments. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. He will be missed, but of course, we do have to move on with the show, and here we are. It's round 13 of the Division 1 Championship, and we are here at Suzuka International Circuit. It is time for the Japanese Grand Prix, and I'm excited for this one, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Follow Monkeys, or Eric, here in the booth, once again, joined by Jamie. And Jamie, I just want to check in. Are you here with us today? How you doing?
Yep. Yep, always here with you, Eric, and I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you doing?
Perfect. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Really excited to kick things off here on what looks to be, for now, dry, but a little bit cloudy here in the session. But I think it's going to be a great race. I can tell you, Division 4 raced in that one. It was chaotic, to say the least. Not too sure about Division 3, but I know Division 2 had a little bit of chaotic but great racing action, and I'm excited to see how the drivers here in the top tier division will take to this track. As if I'm being honest here, it's probably one of the more difficult tracks here on the circuit, and I'm just going to start off by saying right from the get-go, the curbs here in Japan are absolutely killer. They can get the best of even the best of drivers here. So we'll have to see who can manage the track, who can manage their own pace here, and who can snag that pole position, and who can get the victory here in Suzuka. But Isaac Kush already starting a lap here as he heads down towards turn 1. As I keep rambling on, going through the S sections here of Sector 1, I'll jump on board with Izat as he's going to take us through a lap to start off the session here. And you can see sticking around in 5th gear, now going up to 6th gear at the end of the S's, keeping the revs low, taking a slight little bit of curb on the exit there. Into Dunlop, you can cut that corner, not so much this second one on the inside. So good line there from Isaac Kush as now he approaches the hairpin. And it's a bit of an interesting line through the hairpin. You don't want to take it too close because you want to set yourself up on the exit, because it's very crucial to lead into the sweeping right-hander, and of course into the next corner, this double apex spoon corner, as I call it here. There's apex 2 there. You saw apex 1 earlier. Quickly on the power, a little bit of curve on the exit. Now down towards the very high-speed high zone or quick zone of 130R here. The slight kink in the track, the left-hander, generally full throttle, as you can see there, with the downforce these cars produce. Into the final hairpin. Lots of curve that you can take here around the final corner. Don't get over happy on the power. You might spin the car. Quickest line to the line. It's a 128.4 for Isaac Kush, and very quickly beaten by Justice with a 128.2. But as we saw through a lap here, I want to ask you, Jamie, what other than maybe what I've mentioned, or even if I had mentioned it, what do you think we should be looking out for here as we progress in qualifying and looking towards the race?
Quite a few invalidations, quite a few people making mistakes coming up through Dunlop and the first deck there. I know a lot of people tend to overdo it in terms of the entrance to corner because they like to you have to cut a lot of curb. You have to make sure you don't do too much of it, but this track is very fast flowing. The only figure 8 circuit around here, so these drivers, like you said, Eric, at the beginning will find it very difficult. So it's very important to get every single line, corner, exit, entry right. I'm on board with Passe. He's in the middle sector. On the medium compound tyres, this car Mentalist is one of the highest medium runners in P6 there. 29.3, not a bad time for first time on those mediums, as Passe then makes his way around the final corner. Short shift to do the line to get a good exit, no wheel spin. Short dash to the line, and that was P8 with a 29.6, 3/10 off Mentalist. But yeah, this track, I'm going to see quite a few mistakes around here because it's very, very difficult, Eric. Like, you don't understand, like, if you touch the curb in one of the... Tin Can's just validated at the last corner there, it goes back in the pit lane. But if you touch the apex, no matter how fast you're going to spin because it'll just kick you off the track, basically. You've got to be very, very careful. You've got to maintain focus at all times. It's not like the other games where you can attack the curbs as you would have. We've got a Giroud visit headed back in the pit lane then. He's not happy with his lap time in the Mercedes.
Yeah, and I've got I've got Total P's as he's coming through the end of Sector 3, so I'm going to get an idea of what his first lap time is going to be. But that's you mentioned it, and I touched upon a little bit. The curbs here are absolutely killer, and it's something as Total P sets a provisional pole position time at 28.236. I can say from experience how difficult these curbs are. Given that in my own race in Division 4, I totally did not bin it in the S's on my first flying lap because I touched the curb on the exit of turn 1 going into turn 2. Didn't happen. You can't get me to convince you that it did happen because it totally did not happen. But that's just one of the examples I can give. And of course, when I was watching Division 2, you saw there were a lot of retirements, a lot of DNFs, but nothing to do with just incidents with drivers coming together with one another. Just like you're mentioning, drivers taking a little bit too much curb, and in a lot of the sections of the track, you're carrying a lot more speed than what you might be thinking initially. So when you do end up touching those curbs, you become a passenger on that car. Best case scenario, you just spin it around, you save it. But worst case scenario, you end up in these walls that, all considering, are very close to the track here. Given that it's not a street circuit, I feel the walls are a lot closer than what a lot of drivers would like here, not leaving much room for error in these in the runoff on a lot of corners. But so far, it looks like we've had a lot of clean laps here. For the most part, lapping around the 128s, 129s. Given that it is a little cloudy, track temperatures maybe not as warm as we've seen in previous sessions here, but I do expect to see times maybe fall a little bit more, possibly into the 120. Well, I'm thinking definitely into the 127s. I think maybe 126s might be a little pushing it, but maybe some of these drivers could surprise me here. But with 10 minutes to go in qualifying, that the 128.2 from Total P's is still sitting at the top of the leaderboards here. But I do have to mention... oh, no, never mind. I was just looking there. I thought Justice had his lap time on the mediums, but no, it was set on the softs. Just now he's maybe contemplating coming out on a set of mediums to try to improve. But I think we're possibly in between some outlaps, some in-laps here. I'm seeing, I've got XLRJ who's trying to get a lap set here, getting his final preparations done. But of course, with one of the McLarens out, I think that was XL Tin Can who's just starting a lap on the soft tires. That maybe affected RJ just a little bit, having to leave a little bit more space, not get caught up in that dirty air. But I'll see what Tin can do on his lap time. Previously, he did invalidate right at the end of his lap, so hopefully he's ironed that out and can possibly put something on the board here. Because I also feel, other than going into turn 1 and maybe on the exit or on the entrance into that final chicane after 130R, it's a very difficult track to overtake, especially in the first half of the track. You're probably not going to get too many overtakes in the S's. It's really just after the hairpin here that you might start seeing a few more overtaking, but really doesn't leave you all that much room. So qualifying, I think, is going to be very crucial here around this track. But as Tin Can approaching Spoon, we'll see what the lap time is going to look like. We'll get an idea here as he hits Sector 2 and approaching 130 yards. A 112.6 at the end of Sector 2, so not a bad time at the end of Sector 2. I think it might put him possibly middle of the pack here, around the mid 128s. But as they ride on board, as he approaches the line, no, it's actually going to be only a 129.3, so puts him just outside of the top 10 in P11 for XL Tin Can. So maybe not the best lap for him, but of course he does still have time to set something a little bit quicker as the session continues onwards. But it's a very busy track, Jamie, right now. So a little interesting to see so many drivers out on track, and it might actually cause a few issues with drivers trying to get out of each other's way, or possibly getting into each other's way, just as they're both running flying laps possibly close to one another.
Yeah, I just went on board with Calvin, Wagner and Isa Kush. All three of them invalidated it on their second run, so they're going to go for another flying lap. We've got a total of P's. We've got 3 cars at the same part of the track. I'm on board with Total P's actually, because he's right behind and he's alongside Martin. So having a little bit of a race all the way down at the third sector, those 3 cars. Hopefully they don't get tangled up in a collision, because that'll give you a 5 players grid penalty, which you don't want, because its track position is very crucial around here. I want to go on board with Total P's to walk you through the lap, but look at that. It's just all a mess down at the final corner there.
Absolutely.
Total P's is in the pit lane on his out lap. He's not had a good preparation to his lap, so it's already been ruined, and he's not happy, as you can clearly see. So we're gonna have to find somebody else to go on board with. Was it Mark who went for a flying lap? He's in the pits as well. So all 3 of them are getting caught up in each other's mess. I'm just trying to find somebody on a lap. Is that Isa Kush is in there, also in the garage? Lark is on a lap. He's run out of fuel though, so he's only fueled that car for 1 lap as he makes his way. Somebody's just moved Giroud Rizzo up into 3rd place with a 28.3, and Wilder goes quickest with a 28.0. So I would have loved to see Wilder's lap time if I could have found it, but it was all going on down at the final sectors. So that caught my attention a lot. I think some of the drivers will not be happy, especially Total P's with a brand new set of tyres and having it ruined by a few drivers getting in the way of each other. But Larkin making his way out of Spoon, nice exit from him on the helicopter cam. Does he improve in that middle sector? It's going to be a 30. Oh, never mind.
No, it's a little slow for him there.
Calvin, he's messed up in that postman corner. He took a lot of curb on entry, and back in the pit lane he goes then, so that's his lap time in there. What about the drivers below? We've got Passé at another lap.
Yeah, and Jamie was, now he's diving into the pits, so not a Sector 3 for him. Where is Passé on the Spoon here? Yep, there he is. Finally found him on the timing tables. Let's see what the Sector 2 time is going to be. I think you're aiming for maybe a low 1 minute 12, maybe a high 1 minute 11. It's going to be it's a 112.2 in Sector 2, so half a second up from his previous time. If he sticks on pace, it could bring him right around with Calvin up in P11, but Sector 3 seems to be a bit of a make or break, especially through that chicane, the final corner. And there we have it, a 128.8, 7/10ths quicker for Passé as he brings himself just into the top 10 in P10.
We've got, how many minutes we got left to go? 4.5 minutes left to go. I saw some people went out on the medium compound tyres. Yeah, Chapelele opted to go on the mediums with a 28.8. He says best lap time on the soft. So I've seen some people went out on the mediums, but that could just be a banker. Just go back on the softs later. Alfieri coming towards the final 2 corners now, taking a lot of curb on the final 2 corners, which you want to do, and get back on the throttle. Never mind, he goes back into the pit lane. So not many people on the lap, because it seems like a lot of people are just struggling with the track, it seems like. I just want to go on board with somebody to take you through.
Well, I've got Carmental coming around the final corner now, so if you want to jump on board with him as just an option here, just cross the line to head down towards turn 1.
Alright then, so approached it by 315 kilometers an hour, 200 miles per hour, swing it in on the 50 meter board, then slow down on turn 2, get as close to the apex as you possibly can, short shifted as well to help maintain that rear stability. These S's sections, you want to get as close to them as you can. You really want to feather the throttle around here. You don't want to take too much throttle. You want to get as close to the curves as you possibly can. People with pad will struggle. Coming up Dunlop now, it's very easy to lose the rear end. As you can see, he's losing it, he's lost it, and he's in the barriers, and he's lost his rear wheel. So that's him done.
Yep, that's the end of the qualifying for Carmentelis there.
I think it's take you through a full lap.
Well, here I think well we can take two. I've got Isaac Kush coming through turn one as he's heading towards the SS, so I can let you through that. You mentioned to hug the curbs as much as possible. He's doing a great job of that. But here I'll let you continue through as we're right around where we left off here.
Take a wide line through double block to get a good exit through here, which he does do. Now coming through the first deck there, brake at the 50-meter board just slightly, then you want to brake for the second one, kiss the apex of the entry, run out wide on this curb here, then set yourself up. You want to brake in a straight line around here. Some people like to go down to first gear or stay in third, or Issa Kush goes to second, up to third momentarily. Back in the throttle we go, hook this, get as close as you can to this line here to minimise the distance. Then through speed we go. Is that a car in the way? Total piece, visual distraction, but they get too much in the way. Kiss the apex of the edge to the first part of spoon, run it out wide on the curb, and the second part of spoon. Now, this short straight here, just go to the left as much as you can. Aston Martin teammate getting in the way there just a bit, and half a second up is Issa Kush, swing it through 130 yards, flat tire in these cars nowadays. I think Issa will go on pole because he's 5 tenths up with a 28.4 as his previous best. Coming around the final corner now, Nathan is starting a flying lap. DRS enabled, this would be a 27.9, and he goes provisional pole with a fantastic lap time. Does Issa Kush.
Yeah, a great lap time indeed. I was getting a little worried there seeing Nathan right at the end of the lap. Not expecting Nathan to get out of the way. Of course, he was starting his own flying lap, but just a little bit of wrong place, wrong time as Izat was coming to the end. But it looked like it didn't affect him too much with that dirty air. Thankfully, he does snag that provisional pole position. But we've got a couple drivers here that are looking to challenge for it. We've got Wouter, who's coming through the just the end of Sector 1 around Dunlop now. Total P's as well, not too far behind as they're in a similar portion on the track, and this looks to be possibly the big battle for that pole position. As we're down to the last minute of qualifying already here, as it's really just flown by. Meanwhile... So, what was that?
18 minutes just flies by.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I noticed Chapelele in 10th place in the medium compound tyres coming through Dunlop now. And also Mark. Mark's back to outfit, so he'll start down P13 or below. But I just want to keep an eye on Chapelele. What's his first sector going to be? 2 tenths up, so you might want to keep an eye on him throughout this whole lap. See where he can go. He'll be the highest medium runner because I don't believe anybody else is out on the medium tyres except Nathan JP down in P19 with a 29.7. He's still on a lap time. Mark hasn't got enough time to cross the line to go for another one, so Chapelele looks like he'll be the only driver. How many seconds left to go? Because Mark's around the final 2 corners. Can't really see from the yellow flags always appearing. But off he goes, Mark, for another lap time. He's got enough time? Yeah, 10 seconds, so keep an eye on Mark as well. And Nathan's just got up to P14 on those medium compound tyres. Now, Chapelele's middle sector is going to be a 3 tenths up in the middle sector. Let's see if he can find more lap time in the final sector as he's flat out to 130R. Brake at the 100 metre, but you can brake as late as you can. Nice entry through there, through both corners. You want to take a lot of curb, get back in the throttle, make sure you don't wheel spin, and it's up into P7 with a 28.4. Decent lap time is just as somebody's just moved up. And Total P's has just spun coming through the S section there. He was on a flying lap on his final flying lap, but sadly he spun it in the most common place. Keep an eye on Justice in P5. He's improving by 2 tenths, and he comes across the line now, and it's 27.9. Wow, look at the lap times, Eric. P3 to P1.
Yeah, so close up at the top, and you can see Jerome as I think he did improve, but I think that's 5/1000ths of a second slower than Izat Kush, who can breathe a sigh of relief as Wouter wasn't able to improve on his lap. Calvin did improve, and he was the driver that jumped up there a little bit earlier that you had mentioned that we noticed, but it was only good enough for what is now 5th fastest. Total P's a costly mistake with the spin as he's only coming through Spoon now. Looking at the time, it's definitely not going to be faster. Passé just crossed the line. He did go about 1/10 of a second faster, but didn't quite move up. I think that was Mark right behind, just leapfrogging him, but still outside of the top 10 was Mark, so he still gets that free choice of tires. XL diving into the pits, so I think that's just about it for qualifying here. So the 127.913 from Izat Kush just enough to hang on, just that little bit faster than Jerome Visser's 127.917. But when I'm looking at the top 4 here, a tenth of a second essentially separating the top 4 drivers, and it's even closer when we're starting to look at, let's say, from P5 all the way down to P8, a 128.202 to a 128.291. And I'm looking at how close these lap times are. Jamie, this is going to be a great start to the race, I think, and I think it's just going to make it for a fantastic outcome here. But I feel that's kind of par for the course with Division 1. They always just seem to put on a show and a half. But look at that. So 4 1,000th of a second separating the top 2. Not even a tenth of a second separating the top 3. And looking down at the top 10, all separated by, 7/10 of a second. But the top 9 all separated by essentially a half a second here.
It's just unbelievable. It's just 4,000s is just incredible, especially around here. And yeah, I agree with you when you said it's going to be a good race, because you tend to get good races around Japan. You really got to pick your points where you're going to overtake your rivals, because this can be a DRS training forming, and strategy can come into play with it. If you undercut the guys ahead of you, try and get ahead of them, because they're stuck at the DRS train at all the tyres. So let's see what the drivers do. And it's same as qualifying really with the weather. It's not really improved as such.
Yeah, more of the same here with lots of cloudiness in the sky. Whether or not this is going to stay the same, get better, or get worse, not 100% sure just yet, but at least for now, from the start, I think with the conditions, and from what I've noticed, I think the runners that are on the soft tires might have a little bit of an advantage right from the get-go, given the track is a little bit cooler, so it might favor right off the start the slightly more grippy soft tires compared to the medium tires that just take a little bit longer to get to that optimal temperature. So given Schiaparelli, he made it into the top 10. He's going to be starting in 7th, but he's actually on a set of medium tires. So we'll see how that's going to work out for him. And I mean, since I'm on the subject, Schiaparelli, his key to victory here, he's just got to stay out of trouble and stay composed. He's got the pace. It's just, it seems like he's just caught in a lot of incidents as of late. And getting early exits. So we'll see if Japan is going to be his breakout race, or if it's going to be more of the same. But as we're starting the formation lap here, it's a familiar face of Izat Kush, who's on pole position. As I look at the tire choice, other than the top 10, who all are forced to start on that soft tire, other than Schiaparelli, 11th to downwards, well, they all decided to put on a set of medium tires here. A little interesting. Do you agree with that call?
Yeah, mate, because I don't think hard tyres is a good choice around here. I think it's just not a favourable race tyre, the hard tyre. Soft to medium, it's an easy one-stop. You can either go soft, medium, or mediums to softs, but I only see people using the hard compound tyres if there's like an early incident in the lap 1 or lap 2, and that's when you'll see people go on the hards to go all the way to the end, but it should be an easy one-stop. I don't think the hard tyres will be used at all in this race. I think if when the safety car comes out for those people who do have incidents down there, they'll switch over to the mediums, because they're the favourable race tyres are much better. I had a race around here 2 days ago, and guess what, Eric? I won the race. I won a race for quite a while. Yeah, it was quite hard because I was attacking and defending with the DRS train. It was so difficult because I had to plan my attack, but the guy behind me was just so aggressive, like you always are in the races. He didn't want to plan it. He just wanted to come at me at every single opportunity he had, and he just didn't want to play the patient game. And that's what won me the race: being patient, but also having to defend and attack at the same time, which was quite horrible, especially at this circuit, because you lose one bit of concentration, you're either spinning or not invalidating, but picking up warnings and penalties. I picked up a penalty on 130R because if we're going too wide, and I just went slightly off the track, but luckily I still won the race because I pulled out a 3-second gap. Both Haasers have came together at the formation lap, and one of them's on the medium compound tyres, so Killer Blue then on the most durable tyre, not most durable tyre, in the mid-range, but he's going to have to stay there on the grid, and hopefully warm those tyres up at the start of the first lap, because he's going to lose grip as he's on their mediums, and they'll take longer to warm up compared to the soft. Jamie on the softs in the top 10, he has to make a good start, get ahead of Chapelele as he's on a opposing strategy towards him. So they're all lining up on the grid now, waiting for this 27-lap race. And I know you don't like predictions, but can I ask, what do you predict?
Chaos is what I'm going to be predicting. The best type of chaos here. I mean, so far this whole day of racing has shown a lot of safety cars, a lot of incidents here. So, I mean, I'm expecting more of the same, and sending the challenge out to the drivers here to prove me wrong. But as we're set up and ready to go, up to 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights to start the Grand Prix. The lights are off, and we are racing here in Japan, as it looks to be a good start from most of the field heading into turn 1. He's at Kush, able to hang on, but he's going to possibly be challenged. Wouter in 4th, I thought was going to go for an overtake. Chapelele and Larkin going side by side here, as Larkin having a good start up into P7, and Mark already up into P10, Jamie down, and that's Killer Blue out of this race very early on here, making it through 2 corners. It's got a yellow flag, but I don't think it's going to bring anything more than that. Mark and AJ Wu are having a little bit of a battle, and you can see Jamie now starting to get a bit of a jump on his step as he gets ahead of AJ. Almost going off track there was AJ in that corner, but keeping that car. Total P's and XL Larkin going alongside one another. Carmentalist and Passe exchanging positions, but it's a very eventful lap 1. But I gotta ask, did you see what happened to Killer Blue there?
Killer Blue, I just went on board with somebody's rear wing and he just simply lost it. I don't think he made contact with anybody. I think he just retired by touching the curb and losing it in the wall. But with AJ's case, it looked like he was just offline in every single S section, because I think Chapelele got ahead of him when you were concentrating on Killer Blue. And then Larkin went around the outside. Then JB got involved, so AJ's lost 3 places in 1 lap, it must be said. But heading on to lap 2 now, looks all nice and tidy from everybody. I don't see anybody having damage, and just 1 retirement, which is the Haas so far. So Isha Kush then leads by 5 tenths ahead of Javu. Walter, I thought he was going to go for it as well in turn 1, as AJ Wu has in the pit, so he must have made contact with somebody on the end plate, as we might not have seen. So that's why he's dropped all the positions and lost a lot of downforce in the SS section, where you critically need it to make it stick around here.
Yep, and I saw, it looks like that was Sofian I thought I saw there for just a little bit, or Nathan, JB, and Wagner. 3 cars that were nearly alongside going into turn 1. It looks like that's since been sorted out, but it was a very good battle very early on here at the end of this lap for position at the start of lap 2. But I think we're as much as the drivers are still close, we might be past that initial point of running now. Like we tend to see in Division 1, getting a bit more into the strategy side of things, trying to make the gaps, trying to get to their pit windows safely. But it was a very eventful lap 1 here with a couple overtakes. Killer Blue, I think he was part of those, one of the 2 Haas's that came together in the formation lap. So you have to feel that not getting to finish that lap, having those slightly cooler tires, might not have benefited him, and could have been a bit of a cause for the early retirement as well. But a little unfortunate for the Haas there, as it's a very early end to his Grand Prix. But you can see Carmentalist 2 tenths behind Feral Fury, trying to close up on the Red Bull. Has a nice little bit of a line through 130R, but just unable to close up enough going into the braking zone of that chicane. But now around the final corner, might have a little bit more help here at the end of this coming lap 3. Now that DRS is enabled, and we might start seeing a few more overtakes. But Carmentalist, now that I mention it, he's going to take a look down the inside, and Feral Fury having to go off track with the outside line. And Carmentalist, well, he says, thank you very much.
Spun, mate.
Oh,
Larkin
no.
Spun.
Larkin spun. Well, there he is on track just there as he's trying to get back on safely. A costly mistake from Larkin as he's fallen way down the order, down in P17. Was there any... Calvin going wide as he's really having to go slow. And he's going to have to cut that corner entirely just to stay out of the way from the rest of the drivers.
That's going to be 10-second time penalty. Very careful.
Time.
Yeah, he has to be careful. Oh, he's picked up a 10-second time penalty. That's what happens when you do that. Even if you go slowly, the game registers you as cut to the whole corner. So, yeah, my fears. I don't know if those 2 came together or they had a separate incident. Calvin and Larkin. Not quite sure, but sadly they're down in P16 and P18 with Calvin got a 10-second time penalty. His race already ruined on lap 2. Probably the curbs caught him out, and further up Dunlop as well. Dunlop's a tricky corner. He could easily lose the back end, especially in traffic as well. Just want to point out to Chapelele and Mark, 5 places that Mark's gained, and Chapelele's gained 3 places. They've done a good job on those medium compound tyres so far, looking very comfortable, and Chapelele is behind his teammate as well, so the things are looking comfortable for him.
Yep, I put up the position changes for those watching from home, so we get a bit of a view of that. You can see even Nathan JB up 6 spots, and Carmentalist up 7 spots from his start. So a good start from them. Of course, Calvin and AJ not on the other side of that, and Calvin having to take a pit stop as well, and that's the end of his Grand Prix very early on. He decided enough was enough after that mistake, and he is our second DNF, or second driver who's out of this race, only 4 laps into this Grand Prix.
You can see Jeroen Visser hanging out to the back as Isa Kush just following him. It's very easy to follow around here with the DRS and slipstream, so he's just crawling all over the back of him, trying to put Isa Kush under pressure, following with Justice and Walter down there. A bit of a gap between Total Peas and Walter, 2.5 seconds, and Chapelele is right behind his Alfa Romeo teammate on a different strategy, of course, so all those two, if they are working together, have to swap, or they just fight it out on track and not bother, because they've got Mark right behind him in P7 as well, and JB in P8 following Wagner. Nathan JB is also in the DRS of Wagner. Sophia in P11 bringing along Car Mentalist, Val Fury, and the 2 McLarens in P40 and P50. Then comes Larkin, who was in the top 10. Doesn't look like he's picked up any for wind damage, so he could continue, but of course he's out of position now in P16 on those soft compound tyres. Obviously going to pit not very early, but early than the other guys, considering he's on the softer tyres.
Yep, so not ideal, but a bit of still a very long race, so does have time to work out that strategy, how he wants to go about this.
Oh, here comes Chapelele down the inside of Total Peas. They go side by. Oh, Chapelele spun again. Oh, that's a shame. He tried. I didn't quite see it because I was on board with Total Peas, but look at him. Oh, it's a miserable race yet again for Chapelele. He drops all the way down, sees everybody goes past in clear view in sight. That is a shame for Chapelele. Like you said, Eric, he's very, very quick, but at the same time, no offence to him, he makes... Oh, Jamie picked up a 3-second time penalty. No offence to him, he makes a lot of mistakes, as we've seen in the past. Justice in the top 3 has picked up a 3-second time penalty. I was on board on the rear view of Jeroen Visser. I just saw Justice go a little bit wide, and that cost him with a 3-second time penalty, so he's on the back foot in terms of penalties. But yeah, Chapelele, what a shame. He's still there in P17. Is he continuing? Yeah, he's still continuing. Safety cars could come out, but we usually see him retire every time he drops down to the back of the grid.
Yeah, not ideal, but I know Chapelele, he was one of those drivers who'd like to take the, I always call them the esports lines, where you really ride a lot of curb on a lot of tracks, but as we as a community have learned here on this installment of the game, it doesn't quite work that way here on F1, on this installment of F1 2021. The curves will really bite back, so I think for drivers like Chapelele, it's been just a bit more of a challenge of learning essentially having to learn a new driving style with this new game, and still coming to grips with it. But you can see, looking at the front, Wagner getting ahead of Jamian here, going into turn 1 with DRS. Passé also getting ahead of Feral Fury, I believe, in that same spot. So we're starting to see some overtakes here with the DRS, and is very crucial now for a lot of drivers to stick within that 1 second gap, or else they might end up being a sitting duck, kind of like what we saw with Jamian, and a little bit of what we saw with Feral Fury as well. Just getting the short end of the stick, not having that DRS. But up at the front, Izat Kush doing a good job of hanging on to the lead here, but you can see Jerome putting a lot of pressure. And who was that brought out a yellow flag? That's AJ having a moment himself at in the exit of turn 1. Looks like he's since got that resolved, continuing on his way, but that's a bit more time loss, and not ideal, given he's already had to pit once for a wing change at the end of lap 1, and that's not going to help in his progress to try to catch back up to this main pack of cars.
Despite being under pressure from Jeroen and Justice, Isa Kush is doing a fantastic job. managing the pressure with these two guys right behind Justice all over the back of Giroud as well. So Giroud having to thinking about defending and attacking. How long can he afford to stay behind Issa if he wants to make the move? Because Justice is right there in the background following Walter. Giroud might make a move, he has to. He can't afford to stay behind him too long, and there he goes then up into P1 ahead of Issa Kush. Will he make it stick into tail 1? Yes he does. Doesn't outbreak himself, doesn't go wide. But the previous lap we saw Wagner overtake Jamie for P7. That was a fantastic move around the outside. Carried a lot of speed into turn 1 and managed to make the corner as well. So good move there to go the long way around and carry a lot of speed. Wagner up into P7 just behind Mark, who's pressurised in total Ps in P5. Yellow flags. That's
Wagner.
A massive crash. Wagner.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see what the incident was. It looked like there was... and that's going to bring out a virtual safety car to clear up, I believe, a little bit of debris on the track here from the front wing of Wagner that came off that car. So thankfully he can drive around under the VSC, so won't lose as much time as what he probably could. But it looked like for Wagner, it almost looked like there was an attempted overtake. They might have been alongside in the S section here. And of course, it's a very high risk, high reward type scenario, trying to overtake essentially anywhere in Sector 1, given how tricky that corner section is through the S, is really swinging the car around, upsetting the balance of the car, so to say. And unfortunately for Wagner, it didn't quite work out too well for him, as he ended up into the wall with some wing damage. But thankfully, he's been able to trek around under that virtual safety car, which has essentially neutralized the race. So won't be losing out as much as he might have been expecting initially, as he tries to make his way to the pits and take that extended pit stop to put a new front wing on that car.
Indeed, nobody has pitted under VSC. They didn't expect them to, because they'll lose a lot of time by doing that. We're on to lap 8. So Giroud, the race leader, has picked up a 3-second drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC. So I think he was a bit optimistic by trying to extend the gap as Wagner picks up a 5-second time penalty for speeding the pit lane. But Giroud, our race leader, sadly has got some weight to his name, and he has to serve it within the next 3 laps, otherwise we'll get disqualified. So that's a shame there for Giroud. So Isha Kush then has 2 drivers in front of him and behind him with penalties.
Yeah, a little unfortunate for our race leader here, Jerome, with that drive-through. Like you mentioned, Feral Fury equally taking a drive-through penalty for that same reason, speeding under the virtual safety car. So a bit of a costly mistake from these drivers, trying to time the restart, maybe being just stuck in a not-so-great spot where you're trying to get under the delta, but just, of course, sometimes that timing just doesn't work out, especially in the slow corners. I've got my own opinions on that, but I'll save them for everybody watching at home. But back to when I'm looking at the racing here, still lots of pressure here from Justice to try to close up to Izat Kush. The top 3 still having a good battle here, all in all. But there goes Jerome. He's going to serve that drive-through very quickly, get that out of the way as early as possible. So a bit of an interesting call. Do you agree with that, or would you stay out and try to run a few extra laps, try to build a gap a little bit more before serving it?
Quite difficult, because Issa Kush and Justice are following the DRS trade, so it's quite hard to pull away anyway. So I think it's just best for him to serve that drive-through penalty. Driving possibly a little bit angry as well with that drive-through penalty, but now the race lead goes to Issa Kush. Yeah, it's really unlucky, that safety car scenario, virtual safety car, because you look at the delta, and the virtual safety car's ended. You put a second on your timing in the green zone, then he goes all the way down, and you try and slow down, then he goes into the red zone, and that red zone just catches you out, and that just, yeah, you have to be really on the limit with the virtual safety cars. Go at the earliest possible moment, but try not to get a VSC, a drive-through penalty with a VSC. Set to 1 yellow flags. Is that ever safe? That's Feral Fury.
Yeah, so Feral Fury having a moment in Sector 1, as looks like if he's back on track. I've been watching Mark as he practically pushed Total P's around the hairpin. But it looks like Feral Fury back on his way. Does he have any damage on that Red Bull? No, but he's kind of caught in the middle of a battle now with AJ Wuhan because of it. We'll see if AJ can get ahead here for that P16. As I mean, for AJ's sake, yeah, I'm sure he's just happy to be able to see a car that he can have a little bit of a battle with, attempt to overtake. A nice little break from trying to catch up with that field. Also, you've got Jerome, after serving that drive-through, going for an overtake.
Justice in the lead.
Yeah, Justice overtaking Izat Kush in the process. Lots happening there as, the two Mercedes having a battle with one another. Justice overtaking Izat Kush with Elba DRS to put that AlphaTauri in the lead. Carmental is taking a 3-second time penalty that will be added onto his time. And it looks like XLRJ getting ahead of XL Tin Can as well into turn 1 as they swap positions. RJ up to 13th, Tin Can down in 14th here.
Visser has rejoined the traffic behind his teammate who's on the same strategy on the soft compound tyres. And per se, you expect per se to be a little bit quicker than these two now with those medium tyres, as Wagner has the fastest lap on those brand new set of soft compound tyres. Oh, Mark's just slightly tapped the back of Total P's as he's trying to make progress up into P4 because Total P's now tyres are faded just a bit and therefore Marks have come into play. So Mark should be quicker and he needs to overtake Total P's as quickly as he can, being the highest medium runner up into P5 there. It's a really interesting battle going up first and second. They're really, really close, these two, Isha Kush and Justice. The gap is now 1 second as Isha tries to reduce that, trying to get in the DRS range. Looks like Justice is pulling and trying to get out of the DRS range. Obviously something happened to Wildtech because he's 1.6 seconds behind Isha Kush. He wasn't in the DRS battle between these three, but he's just slightly dropped out. Can he claw himself back in that DRS range? As Justice has just set the fastest lap, so he was obviously pushing there to try and pull away from Isa Kush over a second as the gap keeps lingering between 1 second and 9 tenths as Mark still can't overtake Total P's there as he maintains his P4. And look at that, there goes Nathan on Jamie and finally, and Nathan makes the place up into P6 ahead of the Hash driver on those soft compound tyres. Larkin has got past Giroud, both Mercedes going at it as Passay loses 2 places to board both Mercedes drivers. Good battle there going on between 10th, 11th and 12th there.
Yeah, very good battle indeed, but for Jerome, he's been stuck behind his teammate for a better part of the last 2-3 laps. They've been, I think, battling a little bit more than Jerome would like, given, all considered, having taken that drive through. His battle is was more with the leaders here as he's trying to mitigate the damage. But I think between the two Mercedes, no team orders at all here in that pit box. They're just going to let them race and hope for the best. But it looks like Jerome just stuck behind Larkin, just can't seem to get ahead of his teammate here. We've got another yellow flag. It looks
AJ
to be AJ again, really struggling here around Suzuka's. AJ in those S's. I think that's the third incident in those S's we've seen from second. Yeah, Mark.
We could see if there's no room there for Mark to get past, but crucially, Mark needs to set Total P's up in these final 2 corners to get a really good exit and try and slipstream it all the way towards turn 1 there. Can he try and do it with the DRS now? Total P's goes defensive on the inside. You can see the flashing light at the back of Total P's indicating that he's drained the ERS and Mark goes through up into P4.
Did you see that though? As the move was happening, we've got rain here that's approaching, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to make things very interesting.
Can't wait to see how this race unfolds then. All drivers start to struggle now with the slippery surface, those soft and medium ones, because those softs then have reached their peak a few laps ago, so they're going to be careful now on those soft compound tyres. Wagner will be loving it with those brand new set of soft compound tyres attached to him, but this is where strategy comes into play. Will this rain worsen, I wonder?
And
or could it stay the same and stay like that? Because we've seen scenarios like that, haven't we? And also, Eric, I want to talk to you about the virtual safety car. Do you remember, I think it was last game or 2019 or potentially both, that drivers could abuse it, if you know what I mean? Like, do you know when you're below your delta and the safety car is ending, you have that countdown to 10 seconds, and if you were like, do you remember that glitch?
Yes, I do remember that where, sort of, I'm thinking of the right one, when it was ending, as long as the timer went, or as long as we went back to green flag before the 10 seconds counted down when you were in the red on the delta, it was like no harm, no foul. But I don't think that's much of a thing in this game. I think they've finally gone ahead and fixed that.
I used to abuse that all the time, but I didn't realise that if you were the host lobby, you're the one that picks up a penalty. And guess what? I abused it, and I was the one that picked up a penalty, not
Oh
knowing about the
no.
glitch. And I was in first place as well. It was in Belgium. I remember that race clearly because I was like, hold on a second, why have I got a penalty and other people haven't? And I realised only the host gets it.
Oh no, but I mean, I
Missed
think
those days.
yeah, you kind of miss those days, but I'm also equally happy they got that fixed, so you're not, well, fixed, I believe. I probably didn't abuse that as much as I probably would have liked. I think I just kind of got the lucky benefactor of it when I didn't realize with the Delta. Not so much here in this installment, as I'm sure some drivers found out the hard way over the course of the season. But I'm looking here, you still have a good battle between Justice and Izat Kush. Justice still leading, though, through all of this. It does look like the rain is starting to come down a little bit harder as the laps are ticking down. And I was going to mention this now that well, hindsight 2020 with the rain, it makes a lot more sense now why Schiaparelli would try to qualify on the medium tires, and why a couple of these drivers would have wanted to start on the medium tires to just take them to the point where you switch over to the intermediates and not have to risk really those soft tires falling off a cliff. But it looks like, I think Sophion might have had a moment.
I think he did, because I think I might have saw it. And there goes Issa Kush on Justice.
And Larkin's out of this Grand Prix.
Will this cause a safety car? And it will cause a safety car. This could be interesting, because I'm wondering why these guys were going long. I thought lap 10 would have done it by now by going on the medium compound tyres, but this is going to be very, very interesting. Will the rain get worse, or will it stay like this? Some people are going to have to make some decisions, as Giroud is on the intermediates. If you're on the mediums or softs, what do you do? Like, on the soft compound tyres, the main thing is you go on the mediums, but obviously in this situation, the medium would go on the softs, but obviously, will the rain get worse? Will they have to go on the intermediates? You can see 3 drivers on the intermediate tyres: Giroud, Vizet, XL, RJ, and Passay. So I wonder how the medium tyres will cope. Obviously, these drivers will have more information than us, because we don't know the weather unless we get told, but they've got Jeff, and Jeff can guide them through the race and see what happens. Because do you think they should go on the intermediates? It doesn't look too bad, but obviously it's going to be very slippery. These guys are going to pit soon.
But with a full safety car, the thing that you got to keep in mind, I would say, is, you've got 2 laps under safety car for the track to get a little bit worse. And we've got essentially everybody who could take a pit stop did dive into the pits and put on a set of intermediate tires, except for Wouter, who decided he wanted to go for another set of medium tires, a set of medium tires. So he's going to stick to the slicks. But he seems to be the only driver from that first round of pit stops who decided that they wanted to stick on a set of slick tires. I don't know if that's the good choice. I'm looking at the track conditions, and as much as the rain is is light, and as much as I'm not seeing any spray, when I'm looking at the track itself, it looks like it's getting very damp very quickly. And now you're seeing some confirmation here. Is the top 4, and I mean the top 7, top 8, it looks like they're all taking their turn to pit for a set of intermediate tires. So I would not be surprised if Wouter, maybe that was a bit, and he's going back into the pits. So I think there was a mistake from Wouter that's going to cost him a little bit more time here, as he's going to take a second pit stop here under safety car to rectify that mistake and put on a set of intermediate tires. So it looks like it's time now. We're going to see some intermediate tire running.
And he's lost a lot of track time as well, because he should have been rejoined in 3rd place. But actually, where's he going to rejoin? There's still cars. Costa Line RJ is going to be next to Costa Line up into P12. So Walter's just lost 9 positions there by going on the medium compound tyre. So he tried to gamble. Maybe it was a mistake. You never know with the MFD. He can mix up sometimes and fault sometimes, but if it was a genuine human error, then Wouters just cost himself a podium and he'd have to fight back down in P12.
Yeah, and that's, we won't really know. It could be a human error. It could have just been Jeff saying, as well, just saying, nope, it's going to stay dry, and then you pit for another set of dry tires, and then he turns around 2 corners later and says, oh, wait, it's time for intermediate tires now. So, I mean, it could have been that as well. Trust in the race engineer when, sometimes it's hard to trust the race engineer, but, you can definitely see with the way the track is looking now. As much as I'm still not seeing much spray coming from any of these cars, I think the track conditions alone say all we need to know about what kind of tire it is now. Really looks like it's pretty damp out there, and I do think definitely time for those intermediate tires. But it's gonna make for a great end of the race here. Lap 15 out of 27. I think we're gonna get probably at least one more lap under safety car. So I think it looks like it's probably going to be a 10-lap sprint to the finish in these intermediate tire conditions, assuming the track just doesn't get worse and the rain doesn't start falling that much harder between now and the end of the race, where we could maybe see another round of pit stops for a set of full wets. But maybe that's just me being very hopeful here, just to see a little bit more of a shake-up here on the grid.
Indeed. Let's see which driver's got the skills in the wet conditions. We'll see which driver can adapt quickly in these wet conditions as well, because they haven't had much practice, unless they had separate practice lobbies where they go and do mixture weather. But we're about to see that after 1 or 2 laps around the safety car, when Chapelele has another chance in this race. Farrell Fury, Wagner and AJ catching towards the field. Nice Aston Martin 1-2 there between the safety car and Issa Kush. I just want to pop out to Nathan's performance in P5. Started P16 on the grid. I was about to get onto Q1, but I realised it was short qualifying. I'm so used to commentating long qualifying. But up into P5, kept himself out of trouble, made some good moves on the whole field, especially on Jamie as well. So let's see what he can do towards the end of the race. A potential podium could be on between him. He's started to show some good performances recently, as I've seen. Can Nathan keep together? Let's see what he can get towards the end of this race. Mark as well, down in P3. He started P11 up into 3rd place. He's always one to watch, so let's see what he can do in the later stages of this race. Car Mentalist started P19, almost last, and up into P8 already, so he's done also a good job. Killer Blue stayed for that long. He was watching the race.
Yeah, helping, but I think
left the session.
Yep, enough was enough there for Killer Blue. Leaves the session, but of course was out very early on. But you're mentioning it, Carmentalist Nathan JB up 11 positions here so far. So they've been having a great race and looking to continue that momentum. And even Mark up 9 spots up into a provisional podium here on lap 16. And of course with, if I look here, Justice, I'm seeing he does have a penalty. He's got 3 seconds that'll be added onto his time for extending track limits here. So, I mean, for Justice, it's going to be crucial to try to build a gap as much as he can to the driver behind. And you know he's going to try to go for an overtake on Isaac Kush. But safety cars coming in here at the end of this lap. So, Jamie, I hope you're ready for this, because I think it's going to be a great restart, possibly a little hectic here on the run down to turn 1 here once Isaac Kush gets on the power and gets this race started off for what is going to be a 10-lap sprint to the finish. And here we go, around the final corner and across the line, green flag racing we go as they charge down to turn 1. Isaac Kush getting a great start here. So not going to be challenged into turn 1. You can see Wouter already trying to go for an overtake, and he does get ahead of XLRJ on the lead up into turn 1. But other than that, it's a little bit single file here, relatively uneventful, as I think drivers maybe just still coming to grips with what they can and can't do, how much pushing they can truly do on this set of intermediate tires with these changing track conditions, as they're seeming to vary from corner to corner, lap to lap here.
That was a good restart for Walter. He was crawling all over the back of RJ as he made the move down before turn 1. Now he's at the back of Tin Can as well, so only 1 tenth behind. Let's see what he can do, as Chapelele is also the right back of Pasay as well. So let's see any moves into the Kamui Kobayashi corner. He made the moves around here. So did Sergio Perez. Look at the McLaren go wide a bit, but he got a much better exit by going wider. Slingshot exit further back. Wagner tried it on Farrell Fury, but just couldn't get the better exit than Farrell Fury, so he stays behind him for the time being. Issa Kush got a really good restart, and like you said, he's not going to be challenged into turn 1. Is Walter close enough to make a move? Using our slipstream and getting close to Tin Can, and the exit has been not close enough on this occasion, but we might see a move from Chapelele of Assassin, using the ERS to try and get very close now. Are they going to go flat out through 130 in the interiors? Would it be? Yes, a slight lift off, but he still carries the speed as Tin Can Pasay goes off the track. Around the outside goes Chapelletti. Can he keep his stick though? He has the inside line, bit of contact, wheel to wheel action there. He puts Prix on the curb. Prix can't go for full throttle, otherwise he'll lose it. And there goes Foul Fury. And there goes Wagner. Are you going to make it 3 wide? The McLaren's sandwiched in the middle. Foul Fury in the outside. And side by side goes Wagner, but Prix backs out of it. Will he go down the inside as Wagner? Oh, bit of an oversteer there. And he's side by side with him. He's coming out of turn 2. You can see the car sliding. And Foul Fury stays ahead of Wagner, so good move there from Foul and Wagner on the straight, and also continuing their battle towards turn 1 and turn 2, committed and bravery as well. That was some good action there.
Yep.
We just seen.
Oh yeah, definitely some good action there. Little worrisome, if I'm being honest. I was fearing the worst from these drivers, but you can see the skill, you see the respect there, wheel to wheel, making it through. But Feral Fury was able to get that P14. But I mean, Chapelletti, as he went for the overtake into that final chicane, pulled it off on Prix with a double front wheel lockup into that corner as well. But he got the move done. A little elbows out with Prix, and as Prix went back on the track, Feral Fury almost had to take more of a avoiding action just to not make contact. But it did work out in the end, as Prix seemingly was the worst driver out of all of them, down in 16th and being pressured from AJ in the process. But if I look back to the leaders, Justice, he's been closing ever so slightly after that not so great restart. But of course, right as I mentioned that, right on board with them, has a bit of a moment through that chicane. So now that gap back up to 0.8 of a second. Mark trying to close up behind. The gap was a little bit bigger between P2 and P3, but now it's starting to close up once again as drivers are starting to get a bit of a better feel. They're starting to understand what they can do on those intermediate tires, and they're starting to push a little bit more through this challenging circuit. And we're going to start seeing, I think, a couple more battles, a bit more overtaking here possibly. I'm seeing Jerome right up on the back of Carmentalist as they're stuck behind Sophion here through Sector 1, but we'll see if Jerome's going to try to go for an overtake as he's trying to climb his way back up the timing tables to try to get back up and salvage what could have been a great race if it wasn't for that costly mistake with the drive-through. Sophion, though, he took a 3-second time penalty, I think, so that's going to be added onto his time. Little unfortunate for the Red Bull driver there, as with how close this whole field is, 3 seconds can really do a lot of damage here with that safety car having come out as late as it did.
Justice got to be careful, because I just seen him halfway through Spoon that he went a little bit wide, exceeded track limits. He might have picked up a warning on that occasion, so he could be really careful. 2 chances that he'll get a penalty afterwards. He's still keeping tabs, but obviously he needs to overtake Justice. Look at Isa Kush. He looks like he's got more confidence than Isa Kush at the moment. He just needs to pull a 3-second gap once he overtakes, but he can't do that being stuck behind Isa Kush in P1. Isa Kush also doing a very good job there. Chiruva's trying to make a move, and there goes Walter around the outside of Tinkan, has the inside line for the next corner, gives a little bit of a squeeze. There goes Tinkan with a much better exit, and then goes side by side, coming towards the straight line. Tinkan just a bit more overspeed compared to Walter, but Walter in the slipstream of Tinkan. They go side by side. Well, Walter is not enough space, surely. Yeah, he's going to go around the outside. Can he make it stick? Can he stay around here? No, it looks like Tinkan has the edge on Walter. That was a good battle between the two. Walter tried to go around the outside, had the inside line, but Tinkan with the outside line in the next corner had much better traction, much better exit, and therefore stayed ahead of Tinkan. Good racing for both of them.
Yeah, it was a great racing indeed. Honestly, I thought Wouter had the move, and to be fair, I think Wouter thought he had it as well.
Total
P's, a 3-second time penalty. But I mean, Tinkan just finding that traction, even in the intermediate tires on the final corner, and needing to hang on to that position. XLRJ nearly got involved going into turn 1 to add a little bit of an extra oomph in that battle, but staying patient, doesn't want to force an error either in the process. Now, it looked like Carmentalist and Jerome were relatively close. Wouter, is he going to go for it once again here? No, doesn't quite get to close up enough going into Spoon, so he's going to be still behind, but we might get to see another attempted overtake here 1 lap later. as time is ticking down. 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix. I can see Justice also closing that gap. It was up to 0.3 of a second, now a little bit growing a little bit, as Isaac Kush just seems to be nailing that exit of the final corner just that much more than what Justice is, which is building just enough of a gap to allow Justice to not get the overtake. Wouter once again right behind XL Tin Can, makes the move down the inside. Here we are going into turn 1, inside line for the Ferrari. Gets the nose ahead. Is XL Tin Can going to be able to keep the traction? Not quite this time around. So Wouter finally getting ahead of the McLaren driver as he's up into P10 now, into the top 10 spot. But now gonna have to really start pushing a little bit to close that 1.8 second gap to Jerome, who's in 9th and still stuck behind Carmentalist and Sophion for that matter.
Looks like Carmentalist and Jerome are more confident than Tinker's got a 3-second time penalty. Looks like Carmentalist and Jerome are more confident than Sophion coming to the corners and entry and exit as well. So look, they're stuck behind Sophion, who goes a little bit deep. I presume he'll get a good exit around the outside, or Carmentalist has a decent exit, but does he enough overspeed and slipstream to try and get him down to spool? It'll be too much of an ask, but if he can do it, it'll be a really good move, or a risky one, and he's too far behind to make a move on Sophion, who keeps that 7th place. So they really are stuck behind Sophion. Oh, Jamie spun. I thought I saw somebody spun in the foreground, and he rejoins down in P10, so he just lost it on the second part of Spoon there, caused him to spin, and sadly for him, he rejoins down in P10. Oh, that's a shame for Jamie, doing a very good job in P6 there.
Yeah, very much so a shame indeed, but it's a little bit of a trade-off here. You've got the confidence with these tires after doing a couple laps with them, but of course, you're starting to push a little bit more, put that car a little bit more on edge, and it's a balancing act of really finding what you can and can't do. But now Carmental is closing up once again, but similar to what we've seen in the past is, yeah, that's Wagner who spun in behind, or going very slow down the start-finish straight, so maybe having just lost the back end on that final corner, but now gets back up to speed. But once again for Carmentalist, he's closing, but just can't quite seem to close enough to get ahead of Sophion by the time they reach the corner. So Sophion really making that, really putting on a defensive clinic in that Red Bull. That looks to be Jamie, and once again, so from bad to worse for the Haas drivers, he's now getting back on track, gonna get involved, having to let Passay and AJ get by to not get in their ways. But from bad to worse for Jamie, as he's now down in 16th place after having a moment in Sector 1. Chapelelli, meanwhile, almost alongside of XLRJ. I thought he got the move done, but it looks like that wide line, taking that wide exit, seems to be the optimal line through that hairpin corner, because it seems like it's just maximizing the exit speed and the traction on the exit.
Because you get you straighten the car up if you can try and go around the outside, straighten the car up earlier than your opponent, and therefore allows you to get back in the throttle, whereas to take a acute line into the inside line, and therefore you can't get back in the throttle as quickly as the others can. So Chapelele is going to try and figure out to get past XLRJ. He seems like he was more confident in the S section. I was on board with him, and he was all over the back of him, not even like a few hundred separated the two, but Chapelele is right behind him. Has he got enough speed and overspeed to try and overtake? Yeah. Yes, he does actually. Yeah, there he is. Easy overtake there for Chapelele, past RJ, put up a stagger with defence, but sadly he couldn't keep it, and he drops down into P12. They're still stuck behind. Sofian is Carmentalist, Giroud and Walter, who's closing up now on the back of this train, and somebody has made a mistake. Is that Magna again? I'm not quite sure, but
it looks like that was
for wing.
So, has he? So maybe clipping the wall at some point was Wagner. I think that yellow flag maybe just having a moment in 130R. Generally full throttle, but of course in these type of conditions it's a lot more slippery out there with those even with the intermediate tires. So maybe having a little bit of a tank slapper, having to get that car slowed down, and did bring out that yellow flag. But that's since been resolved. But Wagner, it's another pit stop for him, and a long one at that to get that wing changed. But meanwhile, Wouter, all on the back of Jerome here, as Wouter's going to get involved, see if he can maybe get a few overtakes and try his hand of trying to overtake the seemingly unovertakeable Red Bull that's Sophion in P6. but has his work cut out for him. Still needs to get by Jerome first, but that's going to be a very tough task. We know how good Jerome is, and he's shown that here today. Even with that, it's close. Oh, there's contact. And that's Jerome going for a little bit of a half spin there. So Wouter getting a bit of an easy move there, a little bit of a gift there, as Jerome tried to go for it down the inside. A little bit of contact, maybe a bit of an ambitious move from Jerome, as I didn't quite get the best angle as I was on board with Wouter. So yeah, maybe you can talk us through a little bit more than I did with that move.
I think he just played it simply, outbroke himself, tried to go down the inside, but obviously Carmentis was having none of it, had the right to defend the position, just turned in like he normally would. So I think it's just one of them things, really. Walter's just in the wrong, Giroud's in the wrong place at the right time, and Walter's in the right place, and just sort of position off. And meanwhile, Issa Kush and Justice have actually pulled a 3-second gap on Mark, so it looks like Justice will keep second place. The gap's hovering around 2.9 now, so just gained a few tenths as Jamie Watts picked up a 3-second time on the tempo. Ball with Chapelele. He is all over the rear of Tinkan, just trying to go for it as Tinkan just goes wide, but obviously we'll get a better exit. Oh no, they're in contact! They're in the wall! Oh! Wheel-to-wheel contact. Hopefully that don't be a safety car. It
is going to be a safety car, as Chapelele, that's the end of his Grand Prix, got on board with them right as they came together. XL Tin Can, he's got no front wing, but that at least that car stayed in one piece. But
guess what?
Very unfortunate for Chapelele there.
The Justice, though, that's disadvantaged him a lot. He could find himself off the podium. Why is he... For one moment there, I thought Issa Kush just dived into the pit lane, because he looked like he was fully committed to go in the pit lane, and he just dived out at the very last possible moment. So the race is down into turn 1. Hopefully they don't come into contact, otherwise I'll take both of them out. But Justice, though, his lead of a 3-second gap has just been wiped out, and he's going to be very careful now. Has he got enough time to pull another 3-second gap? I'm not quite sure, because there'll be 2 laps left towards the end of this race. But yeah, we'll find out. Let's see who gets on the podium. Will it be Nathan who gets on the podium? Because obviously Mark will move on to second place. Total Peace has a 3-second time penalty, so Nathan will get ahead of him. Nathan could potentially find himself on the podium.
It's gonna be a crazy finish for sure here with this late safety car, which honestly I don't even know if it might just have to come in at the end of this lap. I don't think it's gonna go on lap 26. So it's going to allow for a little bit of gaps to close here. So yeah, for Justice, really unfortunate for him, as he's really going to have to push that much more. But I mean, he's at Kush. He's very known, I would say, to try to do these fake out into the pits. So I think he was trying to play a little bit of mind games here with the driver behind. Say, hey, let's take a pit stop. Let's put fresh set of tires and back out at the end. Justice, meanwhile, maybe saying, well, hey, I can play mind games too, as he went alongside going into turn 1, knowing full well that even if he got the overtake done, he'd have to give that position back under safety car. But I think it's going to be interesting here to see these two drivers. I think, especially from the on the restart here, which I think should happen at the end of this lap. But we'll keep an eye out on that. But I mean, for Justice, Total P's, they got to find an extra gear. They got to find an extra step here, because not much time to continue to build that gap, to try to build that 3-second gap. So this might have just affected their race, and essentially made their bed here with those time second penalties.
Safety car's in this lap, so only one lap the safety car came out, because he went to lap 26, will be done the last lap. And Passé has got a 5-second time penalty, as Issa Kush has got a really good exit. You can see Justice sliding on the exit as he tries to apply the throttle. So let's see then who's close enough to make an overtake. Passé's in the pit lane. Passé's got into pit lane. Val Fury versus AJ for P11. Fury versus AJ, haven't heard that one before. But look, Carl Mentalist is all over the back of Sofian as well. Nathan JB, keep it on him. He's got to keep it nice and clean. Stay in with that 3-second gap with Justice, Mark and Total P. He's only got 2 laps to go. Can he find himself on the podium? I bet he knows himself, because he can see the penalties above him. He can get up to P3, but obviously keep it nice and clean, stay within that 3-second gap, or will Justice just maintain third place there? Who knows? But off they go again for 2 laps of this race only. Let's see if anybody's in a position to overtake. Sofian is under pressure from car mentalist, Walter and Jeroen, all guys behind him. Will car mentalist go down the inside? He's looking to do so. Will Sophia go wide? Yes, he does go wide. Car mentalist though. Sophia gets a much better exit going on the outside, and car mentalist just has to say, oh look, he almost lost the car as the rear starts to snatch there, gets on the back of the throttle. But car mentalist tried to overtake Sophia, but Sophia just doing a fantastic job despite being under huge pressure with 3 guys behind you. He's just doing a fantastic job. I don't want to put the commentator's curse on him. Total Peace has also been fighting Mark for a long time as well, but there's just no way past it. Looks like the race getting heavier as well, so some drivers have to watch out for that. As Total Peace carried a lot more speed into 130R, as Justice is right behind Issa Kush though. But the problem is, it looks like Issa Kush just gets the exit he wants, and therefore Justice just can't seem to close in heading into turn 1.
No, it's been that same issue. As Carmental is nearly sending that car into the wall on the exit of the final corner, but keeps that under control, but a little closer than it had to be. As we're on the final lap, Total Peas has been trying to get by Mark here. You can see how close the gap is, just practically pushing Mark through the S section here. But very crucially, looking at Justice, the gap between Justice and Mark, 2 seconds. So if Justice can just find 1 more second here on this final lap, he might just be able to salvage that spot. Nathan JB as well, that we were talking about to keep an eye out on, hasn't been able to close up as much as he would have liked on Total Peas to try to stay within that possible podium discussion. We'll see how it's all playing out. 2.3, 2.4 seconds now between Justice and Mark. Total Peace still behind, but can't seem to get by the Williams driver here. But
he's alongside him. He's actually alongside him. Total Peace actually got a much better exit, and he goes for it up into P3. Total Peace, what a fantastic move on Mark there. I think Mark had a problem coming out after the hairpin, and Total Peace just had to run up as the McLaren's just gone off the track there. That's the Tin Can going off the track. Yeah, AJ's dropped back for Fury. He was 5 tenths behind Fury, but AJ just dropped back 3.2 seconds, so I think he also made a mistake. But meanwhile, at the front, good solid performance there from Issa Kush as he makes his way around the final 2 corners. You can see Justice crawling all over the back of him, and there goes Issa Kush then, who will win the Japanese Grand Prix ahead of Justice. Where will he finish though? Because of that penalty, Total Peace will finish down at P. Mark's on the podium, and Justice stays on the podium. Nathan P4, as they all sort themselves out across the line. That was a fantastic race. Val Fury finishes behind AJ due to that 5-second time penalty he unserved. Not quite sure where he got that 5-second time penalty from. But that was a fantastic race, wouldn't you say, Eric? Jamie Boy across the line on the wets. Look at those 4 drives on the wets.
Yeah, I think they went forward with the pit stop on the full wets, and I was gonna make mention there's a lot of standing water on the track now, which does generally indicate time for full wets, but it might have been just too little too late there as XL Tin Can he DNF, but did he cross the line before crashing out is my question here. So he might end up losing a couple more positions here with Passé and Wagner still needing to finish the race. But if he didn't cross the line, that could be possible. A couple points that'll be left off the board here. There's a yellow flag. Let's see how it is. Oh no, I think that was just before the line for XL Tin Can. So from a P14 to no points whatsoever, down in 16th. Not the way you want to end the race there, but yeah, what a race that was. Very exciting. And I mean, Justice, we were wondering if he was going to be able to build that gap back up, and he did just that. Nathan JB getting driver of the day, and I do think well deserved, up into a 4th position from starting outside of the top 10. But my goodness, Isaac Kush drove a clinic, had a lot of pressure through the entirety of the race, but really didn't let it get the best of him there. Kept cool, kept calm under pressure, and he gets the top step of the podium there, and that winner's trophy here for Suzuka.
What could have been for Walter if he didn't go on the long tyres and Jeroen Visser not picked up a drive to penalty in the safety car, but nevertheless it was a fantastic race overall. Enjoyed the battles from dry to wet conditions. Justice did a fantastic job maintaining that 2nd place despite having a 3-second time penalty. Had to pull out a gap, and Issa Kush, faultless drive from him, absolutely clinical like you said, and didn't suffer from under pressure. So well-deserved victory there for Isa Kush. Mark getting on the podium from starting P12, and Nathan JB also a clean race from P16 to P4. So he did a fantastic, stellar job as well.
Yep, fantastic. Oh my goodness, Nathan JB from 16th up to 4th. I can't get enough of that. But it was just a great race all around. I honestly, it's been a great weekend of racing here in Suzuka. It always does bring out the best of races here. It looked like a couple drivers struggling here with this track, but for the most part in Division 1, it was just flat out wheel-to-wheel racing, and just a great show all around here. But we'll see. I've got the top 3. Do you want to send off some invites for post-race interviews here at all, or do you want me to get that done?
It's up to you, mate. Do you want to do it or not? I'm not bothered.
I can get it done here. I'll just, for those watching at home, you'll just get that blue screen for a little bit as I get them sent off.
Them if you want me to,
oh,
mate.
All right. So I'll jump into the showroom then in the process. It was
Isa Kush. I just might need help with a bit of spelling.
Yeah. So Isa Kush. IZZAT. No. Yeah, capital I.
ZZ.
AT. And then Kush with a K.
Kush with a K. Isa Kush. What a lovely name. I don't know if I invited the right one because there's 2 of them. Second place was...
Justice. So REL _
REL _
JUSTAS 12.
JUSAS 12.
Or TAS 12.
Got him.
Okay, and then last one was REL Mark. And there's 2 Ks at Mark.
I'm used to having Mark up here with me in the podiums. Mark. I've invited all 3 of them. Hopefully they join.
Yeah, we'll see if we get them in. Get some thoughts on that race.
I made a massive mistake. I actually invited them all in the wrong group chat. Let me do it again.
All right.
Isa Kush.
So we're getting those post-race interviews set up, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for your patience in that. But of course, in the meantime, as I'll do.
IZZA.
IZZ. IZZ. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I got the picture. AT, and then Kush with a K. All one word.
Kush with a K. And we got Relentless Justices.
Yeah.
Justas.
Yeah,
I always call them. I need to say Justas. I don't know why I say Justices. Make it more complicated for myself.
It's okay. I mean, if there's multiple of them on the track, we'll forgive you for it.
And next one is Mark.
Yeah, Mark with 2 Ks. But I mean, in the meantime, of course, as we always do, gotta thank the partners here. So I mean, of course, thank you to Advanced Sim Racing, thank you to IFEA, supporting us to allow us to do what we do, which is just bring you great racing action. And I mean, of course, I always like to thank the fans as our extra partner. You guys are the reason why we do what we do, and I mean, you guys are the reason why we want to put on this show week in, week out. And I mean, the drivers definitely did their end. Hopefully we did our end well here today. And I mean, I hope you all enjoyed the show watching at home. But we'll see if we've got the... I figure those invites have been sent off, so we'll give it a little bit.
I had a problem. I'm not quite sure what it is. It all invites them to a separate group chat, not this one. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if I've made an error again.
Alright, well, I can go ahead and give it a shot if you want.
Mark's just invited me to a party, and it's got some of the drivers in. I'm not quite sure if that's it, but nah, it doesn't matter. I think.
Alright.
Yeah, it's not happening. I'm sorry about that.
It's no worries, no worries. So it looks like we're not going to get the interviews, unfortunately. But, I mean, Jamie, any last, I mean, I guess before we run off the stream here, with these technical difficulties with the interviews, do you have any last thoughts here, any last Any last, well, I wouldn't say any last words, but I guess any last thoughts before we end off the stream?
Just a massive thank you for inviting me again. I always enjoy commentating alongside you here at ISRL.
There we go. I mean, it's great to have you here in the booth. Thank you for joining me in the booth week in, week out. It's always a pleasure getting to commentate with you.
Hopefully, don't snow tomorrow because I'm at college.
Yep. So there we go. We'll keep our fingers crossed for snow. No snow just yet. But I mean, I think that's just about going to do it here for the stream, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the race as much as we did here. It was a great weekend of action, and I mean, of course, if you're like me, a little upset that it's already over, don't worry. We've got more racing action next week, and I'm gonna keep everybody on their toes because we could be either at one of two locations next week, depending on how things work out with the vote. We might see us in Portimao, or we might see us at Jeddah, depending on how that works out. We've left it to a vote for the drivers. Last I checked, it was tied for these two tracks, so it's really going to be a coin flip. So if you're a driver, if you're in the Discord, haven't put your vote in yet, and you favor a track, well, friendly reminder to get that done, and because it's going to be close here. But one of those two tracks.
Now.
What's that?
Vote in Portimao now.
There we go. Yep. I mean, that's where I put my vote, but we'll see. We'll see how that works out. We'll find that out next week. Same time, same place here. But I mean, on behalf of Jamie, myself, and everybody here at ISRL Esports, I want to say thank you so much for watching, everybody, and have yourselves a fantastic evening.